Hey, we're live. It's lunch with Mel. Things are happening. I'm back from vacation and life is pretty good. Um, which feels like a crazy thing to say right now, but here it is, living the good life. So just let everybody get the notifications from ye old Facebook that I'm doing this. It's been a few weeks, so I imagine I'll be talking to myself for a bit before before folks show up. Um, but oh, good old lipstick. But we had a wonderful vacation. Went to see family out in Saskatchewan, and just to make everybody in America cringe, we flew into Regina and then drove to my hometown. Um, yes, the city's name is pronounced Regina, not Regina, which is Regina is actually the English pronunciation. And there's always this joke about how you can tell if someone's actually Canadian and you just ask them to pronounce Regina, and or say like pronounce this city's name, and you'll find out. Possibly, I don't know. Anyway, it's mentioned in the Deadpool movies too. He says Deadpool says it rhymes with fun. Um, so yeah, Jill keeps sending me things to look at. She's sending me this really cool cover art, which I absolutely love. Um, so anyway, yeah, we were on vacation seeing family, and we are like 90% of the way done buying a house up here in Canada now. So that's also super exciting. And I have all sorts of plans that I want to do. I love working on property and renovating and doing things. And my body is actually working really well right now. I've got my back in really good condition. So I feel like I actually can like do it without it biting off more than I can chew. So I'm pretty stoked about all of that. So whoever's here, sound off in the comments. Let me know you're here and that you're watching. Um, and if I don't know you, where you're from or anything like that. I I'm feeling pretty good this summer. I know that for a lot of people they're not, right? Like depending on where you live, the political climate might be pretty bad. Your country might be being bombed right now. Um, I don't know if anyone watching is in that case, but there's some rough stuff going on, so I don't want to diminish that. But um, for me, for the land of advertising right now, things are like challenging but good. Um, what Facebook is kind of doing right now, what I can tell is we're kind of going through a sea change like we did back in 2020, where Facebook is dramatically changing how things work and how to get the best results. And what it means is that all preconceived notions have to go out the window and one has to be willing to try anything. Um, and I don't always jump right to that because lots of times I'll be like, okay, the usual systems are not working anymore for this particular client and their ads, but they're still working for like a dozen other clients. So clearly there hasn't been a big change, even if we have to make a big change for one client. But right now it's that basically everyone is having to make a big change in how we're running ads for them. And exactly what we're changing to is somewhat uncertain. Um, I think sort of to put some things in context, back in January of 2024, Facebook started rolling out AI powered targeting, and it was awful back then. And people were predicting that like by summer of 2024, you'd be forced to do AI powered targeting, but that hasn't happened yet. And I also said, like, I don't think it's happening anytime soon because Facebook has people who spend a lot of money on Facebook running ads, big corporations dropping millions of dollars. Hey, Yasmin. And those people they're not going to just immediately go off and try this new system that could put massive earnings at risk. So Facebook wasn't just going to willy-nilly change from the current detailed targeting system over to an AI system anytime soon. But I think we are now getting close to that, as evidenced by the fact that like the vast majority of author targets, and it's not just authors, the vast majority of individual human targets. So like targeting, David Letterman, targeting actors and actresses, targeting authors, that's all going away. And it started going away at the end of June. And a lot of ads are now listed as like, hey, you're using these targets, they're going to go away, and but they're going to stick around until January 15th. But for like 4 out of 5 authors, those targets no longer work anymore. So even though Facebook's like, hey, you can keep using these targets, and if you edit the ad, they'll force you to change it. But they're like, hey, you can keep using these targets for now. You probably can't. You need to take a close look at your attribution data, and you're probably going to find that you can't use those targets anymore, that your author targeted ads are dying and not really producing, and you're going to have to switch over to genre. It is pretty interesting that if you they have like a little button to update your targeting, and it will pull out all the author targets and it'll put in genre targets. And it's actually kind of interesting how it, like, depending on who you targeted, it might add in different types of literature fiction. It might add in new adult. It might even suggest children's literature if the author you're targeting is also written like some YA or something like that, which is pretty interesting. It's neat how Facebook really had all of those authors mapped into genres. And genre targeting is now working better than it has in some time, which makes me wonder if Facebook has spent a lot of this year mapping authors and mapping people into genres so that they can make their targeting systems a lot better. And in a way, like, I kind of prefer that. If I don't have to go and find like 150 different authors all the time that I can target, and I can instead just target a genre and get the same results, I'm actually kind of down for that. And of course, the other thing that they've done, and depending on what kind of ads you're running and what kind of access you have yet, there's new flavors of the Advantage Plus targeting that are rolling out too. But I really think that by this time next year, we're all going to have to use the Advantage Plus targeting and the AI targeting. And it's going to be a big shift to that we've already been on the road to, but a big shift toward making your ad creative even better. And I'm experimenting right now with actually even adding more genre and trope information into the ad creative itself, mainly into the text and into the headlines, so that the AI can key off that information that it's reading out of the ad creative, and then use that for targeting. And that's really what we're going to have to move to. We're going to have to go more toward creative writing and whatnot in our actual ads themselves, versus relying on telling Facebook who to show it to. We're just going to have to show Facebook who to show it to. We've been moving toward that for a while. That's been increasingly important over the last 5 years. It still feels weird to say that we're 5 years past pandemic. Sometimes I'm like, my mind breaks. By the way, if you've just joined, say hi. It's always nice to know who's here. And if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll definitely have time to get to them. I've got as long as we need today. Well, a whole hour, but a fair bit of time today. So yeah, big things afoot. There is also something I want to show you guys that you might have access to now. Hey, Kate, you might have access to this now in your ad manager already. And this, I think, is actually a really cool thing that is super exciting. So whenever you're making a traffic ad, you're always going to have this option here that says performance goal. And the performance goal is how Facebook actually measures the effectiveness of the ad. So every kind of campaign, traffic being a type of campaign, has a way that it gets measured. Like a sales campaign actually gets measured on, is it selling things? A lead campaign gets measured on, are people filling out the lead form and submitting it? And traffic campaigns that are, whether a performance goal of link clicks, are literally being measured on, did a person click on the link on the button or the image on the ad and go to the place, right? Like Facebook has no concern whatsoever about the conversion that occurs where we're sending people. And for most of us who are doing in KU or sending people to a place like Amazon or any other retailer, that's where the conversion happens. And we have been unable to do any tracking there, right? We can't install a pixel on Amazon. They're not letting us install tracking software on their own website. So we don't know, and Amazon doesn't know, on a per click basis, who's actually engaging on Amazon's page. Now, if you send people to a landing page on your own website, you could pick maximize number of landing page views. And what this does is we'll try to show your ads to people who are most likely to view the website linked in your ad. So it's like one step better than just clicking. It's click and then spend some time there actually like looking at the web page versus immediately leaving and bouncing. And so some people would would make a page on their website, they kind of pimped the book and had the links off to the retailers, and then they'd have their Facebook pixel installed there, and then Facebook could measure, are people actually hanging out on this page long enough to actually do a thing. And it would try to, when some people would actually land on that page and spend some time there, it would then optimize and try to find more people like that. Yes, I'm really happy to be back too, Carmen. And hello, Pippa. Yeah, we had a vacation. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning, we were like 90% of the way there to buying a house here in Canada. And that was one of the things that we did on our vacation. is we house shopped a bit and found a totally lovely house that will be in at some point this fall. And we got for under $200,000, which means we were able to pay for it in cash with the proceeds of the sale of our house in the States. So super awesome. All right. Anyway, so this is what it normally looks like when you're in here. You've got you'll be set the number of link clicks, and you're kind of just, that's life. But this is a new thing that some people are starting to see on their page, and you have to be in the release of this. This release isn't out everywhere yet, but it is coming to everyone. And it's actually entirely possible that even though on this particular account, this is actually my account, my personal one, that it doesn't have the text, that it may still work to flip this over to landing page views, because the help documentation for the landing page view page option reflects that they've made this change, that you don't need the pixel anymore. They've updated all their help documentation to say you don't need the pixel on the site to use landing page views. So it's probably everywhere, but your mileage may vary, and I'm not sure 100% if it works for you until you get this message on the pages in your account. So what does this mean, right? If I have a link to Amazon, and Amazon shares exactly zero data with Facebook, I mean, assuming zero data, there's no motivation for Amazon to share data with Facebook. We can't install our pixel there. We can't get any tracking, on a link click by link click basis who actually did things on Amazon.com. How is Facebook making this work? How, when I pick maximize number of landing page views on this ad, how is Facebook able to determine that people are actually viewing this landing page and not just immediately leaving? Or in this case, it's their actual product page, right? Because you're sending them to like book one or your omnibus or something like that on Amazon. How does this work? And so I did some digging, trying to find out what people are thinking about this, because this is a brand new feature. Like it just rolled out, it says. It just rolled out in July, right at the very end of July. So it's a brand new feature. And if you try to look up landing page views and how they work, almost everything is from more than a year ago. So I only found one person with a LinkedIn article talking about this, and they had the same supposition that I did, is that, a lot of times when you're on Facebook or on Instagram and you click a link, it doesn't load in the browser on your phone like Chrome or Safari. It loads in Facebook's own browser. And because you'll discover that you're like, why is that thing auto-completing? Why are my passwords not here? Why did my credit card not autocomplete? If you're trying to buy something, and you're like, oh, because I'm not actually in Chrome or Safari that has all my stuff. I'm in this Facebook browser. So what they're probably doing is they're actually using the people who land in the Facebook browser to make this determination, and then they might do some statistical modeling. And if we actually load up the help page about this, it actually says this here. A landing page view is when a person clicks on your ad and successfully loads your ad destination URL in the context URL. In this context, landing page refers to the destination URL you choose during ad creation, your Amazon product page probably. In some cases, when events can't be counted directly due to partial or missing data, statistical modeling may be used to account for some landing page views. So what they're doing is they're using AI. They're going to get some data off of some people, and then they're going to use AI to try to model what everybody else is doing. Thus far, in the few, like I've only turned this on within the last 5 days for people, but thus far, I'm actually seeing an improvement in conversion. It seems to be getting better people, or people that are more likely to buy, by flipping this over from link clicks to landing page view. So again, that's in the ad set for an ad, and it's down under performance goal, and you can change it from link click to landing page view. Again, I have only just as of today started testing on an account that does not have a little message saying, hey, you can do this thing. So I don't know for sure what will happen when I do that in those accounts. The interesting thing is that even if you do it ahead of time, the worst thing it's going to do is kick your ad back into the learning phase and probably just keep it there, which actually can be a good thing sometimes. So it's not the end of the world. But something for you to experiment, play with. Maybe you've got an ad that gets really good cost per click and result rate on Facebook, but doesn't convert that well on Amazon. Maybe you could try flipping that switch and see if that's going to get you better conversion rates on your site. Oh, that's awesome, Kate. Yeah, feel free to experiment with that and see if you can get some good results out of it. So that's definitely a pretty, I think that's actually one of the coolest things I've seen Facebook do in a while, because really what the biggest problem with traffic ads has always been that we have no visibility into what happens after the click. But like, again, if you're in KU, that's the kind of ad you have to run. So this is like, to me, this is what looks like a small little toggle, but is actually a huge technological jump behind the scenes to actually give us a lot more information about how well our ads are converting. So I'm very excited about it. Again, it's super early days. I don't know 100% how well it works. On a couple of ads, I flipped the switch on middle of last week. I'm seeing very positive results, and a couple are staying the same. They're not really getting better or worse. So, you know, your mileage may vary. Also, the feature could improve over time as they get more data into the system with real data of this happening. So totally worth checking out though. So the other things, of course, have happened, like I mentioned earlier, is that a lot of targeting has gone away, and we're having to switch over to more broad genre targeting. And this is something that Facebook has been pushing for some time. You read a lot of the marketing emails they send out and their videos talking about things. They're saying target really broad, let the AI figure out who to show your ads to, and we'll go from there. And I have been somewhat resistant to that because just empirical data wise, I've had better results by choosing it myself, and I can more consistently get better results. But the tide seems to be turning on that, and which in a way is a good thing, right? Because if Facebook can make the targeting side of things brain dead simple, where you basically pick a gender and an age range and a country, and let them sort everything else out from there, especially if we can do landing page targeting where Facebook can then actually be looking at what people do after the click. This could be a game changer insofar as how hard it is to run Facebook ads. The question is, how good will the AI be at doing it? Jury's still out on that. But what it does mean is that regardless of how you decide to run your ads, you need to up your game on creative. And actually, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about more about this fall, where Jill and I are planning a class about it, about really digging into ad copy and how we can put more genre and trope information to ad copy. I'm doing some experimentation now to see what I can pull off. Hey, Penumbria, doing some experimentation to see what I can pull off to make things work better. Like, can I actually just like have a list of tropes in my primary text and see if that works? Like what kind of things can I do to clue in the ad? Is it a return of the, if you like author XYZ, then you're going to love this author kinds of ads, which have never really gone away, but they can work. One of the ad campaigns that Jill ran for me back in 2016 that worked like gangbusters was, is MD Cooper the next Larry Niven? And Larry Niven is a huge old-timey science fiction author. He wrote a book called The Ring World. If you ever see like a big orbital ring, like in Halo or something like that, where it's like it spins and then there's gravity on the inside and there's like lakes and trees and oceans and rivers and mountains on the inside of the ring and it's just floating out in space. Larry Niven is the one who came up with that idea. And so Jill made an ad that said, is MD Cooper the next Larry Niven? And the ad worked really, really well. Like, it sold a lot of books. It also garnered a lot of hate. So eventually my fragile ego couldn't handle it anymore. I took the ad down because you get people that be like, definitely not would be their comment on the ad. So, that's a sort of gird your loins sort of ad copy, but maybe we end up doing things like that again, making more direct comparisons in the ad copy to help clue the AI into who to be showing our ads to. We might also have to leverage more TV and movie targeting than we have before. If you still want to do a lot of stuff with targeting and you can't target individual people anymore. Although I've seen a bunch of TV and movies go away, like The Golden Girls is going away as a target, and The Golden Girls has been an excellent target for some time. So Ray Bradbury is also awesome, Yasmin. I agree. Yeah, Penumbria. The map on the Ring World is really cool, and how he was doing a presentation at at MIT on some other topic, and students found out he was there, and they were in the hallway chanting, "The Ring World is unstable," because they'd done the math on whether or not it would work, and they're like, "Nope, it's going to fall out of orbit." And so he wrote Ring World 2 to address the issues as to why the Ring World was not stable. Oh, that's good, Kate. Sons of Anarchy and Peaky Blinders are good. Oh, I went to put the comments on the screen there. Those will show up now. Yeah, not all of them are gone, because I've got some that are targeting Bourne and Mission Impossible and stuff like that, and I think those ones are still there, if memory serves. You make more sense than next Gene Roddenberry or Ben Bova. I don't know Ben Bova that well, but I mean, my stuff is very megastructure in space was a huge theme in my books, which is why we used Larry Niven. But I can see Gene Roddenberry because I do write about a very optimistic future for humanity, like Gene Roddenberry does. So that's totally a thing that I can do. So it's a new era, folks. And whenever Facebook makes big changes, I mean, I've been through this multiple times now, right? Like I've made a living off of Facebook ads for both my books and other people's books for 9 years now. And this is not the first sea change that we've had with Facebook or Amazon for that matter. And at the very beginning, you're always resistant, and I'm resistant, and oftentimes for good reason, right? The new system might not work as well as the old system. It might not give as good a results. It might remove an element of control that we need to have to do what we're doing. But eventually, they iron out the bugs in the new system, and it actually ends up working pretty well. And we're getting into that phase where we can't stick our head in the sand anymore about the new way that Facebook wants to do things. We need to embrace it and start working with it rather than against it. And that's where we are now. So much stronger emphasis on creative, and it's going to be frustrating because we're going to have ads that were working great, and because Facebook decided to do a thing, now they're not working great anymore, and we've got to deal with that. I know it's frustrating. I'm not excited about that either, but it is what it is. We've got to roll with it and figure out how to make things work for us in the future. So Kate says, since I deleted the targets, I had the warning, add a couple of new targets. Would you suggest starting new ads from scratch? I see a big dip in page reads for a couple of days, but July has been weird anyway. Depends on when you did it, Kate. I might give it 3 to 5 days. If you were at a high spend, like over $10 a day, I might lower the ad back down to $10 a day, or maybe even $5 a day, and then use that additional money to spin up a new ad. I think the jury's out on how well making these changes will work on existing ads or not. I thus far have mostly been making changes to existing ads, and I've been having like 50-50 results as to whether or not they come back alive or not. So my recommendation is do both. Make the change, maybe lower the spend, and then fire up a new ad as well. Number says, I saw things the other day that said ads are shifting to emotional connection from cinematic style trailers because people are now associating the latter with movies, games, and media platform series. Shifting to, I've been pushing for some time that your ads should always have an emotional connection. People make decisions based on emotion. Purchase decisions, like 95% of all purchase decisions are emotional. And ironically, men more than women tend to make emotional purchase decisions. Women are a little bit less likely to make emotional purchase decisions. So always be pulling the emotional hooks. Something that someone that I had on say at one point on Talks with Mal was that if you can make the reader outraged on behalf of your character, you've got them. Like that's your number one way to hook someone. Not just outraged in general, but outraged on behalf. So show them how your character was wronged in some way, and that will make people be like, oh, I want to see how they get back, get. I don't like writing in such a way that it's going to be like a revenge thing. People like reading like, oh, I want to see someone get theirs. I want the people to get the justice boner kind of thing and read because of that. But you can kind of do it in a way that doesn't involve retaliatory action being implied in the thing, because that's not always what happens in our books, right? It's always about retaliatory action when someone's wronged. But that sort of thing still stands true. The bigger the emotional response we're going to have to your ad, the better. And video does get more of an emotional response than still images do, because you get the music, you get the motion, and there are so many tools now. I think there's one called Ideogram, Jill was telling me, has pretty decent video now. And they also have a system where they can generate consistent models. So you can develop a model and then have that model in different settings. It's possible to do that with things like Midjourney. It's just a little more convoluted and not like super guaranteed, but it is possible. So that's an option. And then of course, there's a bunch of Kling now can make pretty decent video. Midjourney can make pretty decent video. You develop an image and then you tell it to just make that image move in some way, and you can do a bunch of stuff like that. So video is definitely becoming something that is more acceptable or accessible for all of us, which is pretty cool. One of my best performing ads for my newsletter magnet was just if Legolas and Buffy had a baby. Yeah, that's great on so many levels because it's intriguing, and it's relying on it's like triggering at people, pulling at people's like happy memories of things, which is like it's basically the Easter egg paradigm. You give people almost a dopamine hit by mentioning those two things together. And of course, you're going to get the nerds pretty interested in it. And of course, it's a reader magnet, so it's free. So I bet you that did work pretty well. All right, Kate says, I was super frustrated yesterday about it, but that's why I discovered it. It's part of advertising. We have to roll with it. Oh, the big dip is what you discovered in your ads. Yeah. And also, all of this comes at one of the worst times of the year because July is one of the most meh months of the year. Like July and late February, early March are the two times of year they're just blah. If you've been watching Lunch with Mel fairly religiously, you'll know I said once Mother's Day weekend hits in May, we're in the summer slump. And you can have a great summer, but most people experience a summer slump. You know, you could releases and certain timings, and maybe you've got the right thing at the right time, the right kind of sports romance when a global championship is being played, or who knows what. You know, there's always an opportunity. So someone's always going to do well, even during a slump. But during a slump, most people don't do well, and the summer is almost always a slump. There's always a bump, and this year I think it did happen. You know, the jury's out until probably another couple of weeks, but there's always a bump at the end of July, early August, and then we dip again at the end of August, and then September begins the nice clean ramp up to Christmas. So we are, if this year behaved like all other years, which is not always a guarantee, some years are a little bit different, like 2020 was. But this is sort of the bottom of the performance barrel, and things will start to improve. It kind of sucks that Facebook made a bunch of changes right at the time of year where advertising is kind of at its hardest for authors. Sea Castle Mystery says July was even worse than usual, and I've had copied the best ads. So I've copied the best ads from UK, USA, and copied them to a new campaign right now with landing page views. Let's see what happens. I hope that it works fabulously for you, Sea Castle. And that's a great thing to do too. Sometimes campaigns, there is some amount of audience learning that is campaign wide. That's sort of what the community has come to realize. So there are some scenarios where you're like, you know what, you just got to fold that old campaign, make a brand new one. Ideally, Seekos, you should make the ads so don't duplicate them, just recreate them from scratch. You can make them identical, but just do it by hand so that no learning from the previous ads is transferred over, and that absolutely can work for sure. Carmen says, I'm the second in a cozy midlife. Oh, she's off. This one's off screen. I'll pull it up here. Second in a cozy midlife, which mystery series coming out in a week? So I'm thinking about what to do ad-wise. I've been running £8 a day ad in the US since the first book came out. I made my money back plus a small profit almost every day. That's awesome. That's really good. Cozy mystery is gone as a target, so any new ads won't be able to use it. But you could do things like paranormal. Well, depending on how much romance it has. If it has any romance, then you could do romantic fantasy or paranormal romance. And then maybe narrow by women's fiction. That might be something you could do. So targeting for that might be a little tricky. Or you could possibly just duplicate an existing ad and just change the creative if you have an audience that works well that you can't recreate because of these changes. That was a July slump. Facebook said no. Yeah, this makes total sense, Yasmin. The beach reads drops were the end of most business going on. I think you mean like that's most of the things of business that happens in the summer is beach reads, and everything else kind of drops. Did I read that right? It's the end of most business going on. You mean anyway? Cozy Mysteries going has killed me. Yeah, I agree. Sea Castle. It's been tricky. I've been trying to do a bunch of different targeting to make it work, and what I realized is that I've got to go wide. I've got to let Facebook I got to choose the advantage audience stuff and let Facebook do the audience work. And I just make better creative because for cozies, yeah, it's really pretty gone. I've seen this too. A lot of people, I know people that are selling out at cons with like only 1 or 2 books to their names. And they're actually like making I know one person is making like not quite a livable income, but their partner, I think, is on unemployment right now. So that plus book sales, they're actually making like a very livable income with those two things together. So yeah, pretty awesome. David says, good to see you again. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was on vacation. Book after series brings magic again. 14. Well, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that. I actually have a book. My book, my 152,000 word book 2 of a series is back from an editor. So it has a publication date of September 29th, which will be interesting because I'm going to spend a bunch of September renovating a house. So we'll see how that goes. But I have to make that date. I have disappointed my readers too often with this book. This book's been my white whale. I've been working on it for 4 years, but it is done. It is edited, and the editor appears to have enjoyed it. So I need to get it into beta readers' hands very quickly. Yeah, it is. This is referring to Cozy Mystery. Yeah, it is gone. I mean, it's theoretically going to exist until next January, but you can't make new ads with it, and your performance of ads using it now may go down. I've seen that too. Yeah, late July and August releases have been horrible, not helped by the rank issues on Amazon as well. August, December, and except for Christmas themes. I've actually always done really well with Christmas theme releases, by the way, or not Christmas theme, with Christmas releases. But I think that's because like my reader, I like play the angle with my readership. Like, are you tired of hanging out with your family? Go curl up with a good sci-fi book. And I do. I've done December 24th and December 25th and December 26th releases and had them all been pretty good. But that's not a universal thing. It doesn't always work for everybody. I know some people who did this too. Yeah, they literally like completely sold out, and they're like, I have a show next week, and actually this was afterward, and they're like, I basically sold people IOUs and shipped them their books because I didn't have enough books. So they had like a couple to show, and they're like, if you want to buy one, I'm totally sold out, but I will ship it to you for a very small fee. And a lot of people actually went for that. So I think she gave them a discount on the shipping to basically just cover the box and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an interesting change for sure that in person is working more. And I think part of it too is there's a lot of people who did ditch Amazon. It's not a small movement, and it's also been cumulative, right? Like Amazon has done a host of things over the years that have ticked off some percentage of their users to the point where I think the cumulative effect is getting kind of notable. So definitely a thing as well. So, and that's another thing that's always been that case with being an author, right? Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Amazon actually almost kind of forces us to, but don't do it. Diversify. And one thing that you can always do is you can diversify to in-person events. There are Comic Cons happening every weekend near you, unless you live in a very, very rural area. Some of them may be pretty small, but they happen every weekend. And I am seeing romance authors selling books at Comic Cons. I haven't seen any straight contemporary romance authors yet. They've always had like some sort of like, it might be a paranormal twist, it might be a fantasy twist, there's always been something else, but they're authors that we would categorize as primarily romance, who are selling at Comic Cons. So, there might be a place you could be selling your books at right now. Now, it depends what the table fee is. So you can find smaller ones with low table fees and start getting your feet wet and doing direct sales, because I think it's always a thing to do. And it also, even if nothing else, doing direct sales lets you see someone's facial expressions while you're pitching your book and make notes of the things that pitch well when you're pitching your books, and then use those in your ads, because you don't normally get that. We don't get to see people's facial expressions when they're reading our ads, but when you're doing a direct sale in person, you get to see that. This is also a thing, yeah. And local bookstores seem to be making a comeback. So I'm so sorry, Kate. It could go great. I actually know a couple of authors who've had really good releases in the last week. So it's possible that you could still have a good release. It's not a death knell. It's just things are a little bit more difficult right now. However, my personal view to a certain extent is always that the best time to release a book, unless it's like Thanksgiving week, is now, because it's an asset that you have forever. You can run sales on it, you can run promotions on it, you can re-release it later on if you want to get the Amazon algorithm to work for you or something like that. But the book can earn money from now until the end of time. So the longer the book can be out, while you're alive, the better, right? Waiting just decreases the amount of time that you can earn from that book, and we never know what the future holds. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. It just might mean that your initial release might not jump the way you want, and you might have to do a little bit more work down the road. But the book is out; it's an asset that you have, and you can leverage that and keep it working for you forever. Um, oof, yes, yeah. I'm so sorry that happened, Yasmin. That's really unfortunate. Historical Penumbra says historical romances are not. I have not had any historical romance clients for a while, so I've not had my finger on the pulse of that genre. It's always historical romance has always been a bit of a hit or miss genre. Some people like do amazing, and some people just don't manage to pull it off at all. And I think it really sort of depends on how well you're hitting, the current the tropes du jour. It's kind of my gut for why historical works for some people and not. I mean, there are some people who just the book didn't hit. So like, sorry, you didn't write the book that you needed to write at the time. But other people have written great books, and it's just not quite the right time for them. But then they can come back and season. And historical romance seems to be like that. One thing that I think is working really well right now is that I feel like gay romance is still really cooking, and I feel like sapphic romance is still picking up. And getting more people, which I'm pretty excited about. Lesbians are finally starting to figure out how to market themselves. It's so funny too, because you'll if you hang out like on lesbian corners of the internet, they're like, I don't know how to talk to women. Women are terrifying. Like they basically say the same thing that men do a lot of the time. They're like, women are terrifying. I don't know how to talk to them. And I think it's been evident in lesbian marketing for some time. I follow this one woman. She makes cosplay armor, and it's like not super functional cosplay armor. It's like 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 a scale mail halter top or something like that. It's like, but not quite halter. Like it's very artistic and looks really beautiful and has like beautiful neckline and stuff like that. And she's like, look, before you comment that this armor is not perfect, super practical, I know. And if you tell me how you can like bypass my armor's protection and kill me, that's super creepy, and you should probably stop talking to people, telling people how you would kill them. She's like, and I'm really not interested in that anyway. I'm wearing this armor to attract lesbians. So that's what we're doing here, folks. None of the other stuff applies. And I'm like, yes. And as a lesbian, I can confirm that pretty scale mail armor is actually super awesome for attracting lesbians. So anyway, so even in their social media marketing, lesbians are figuring it out. They know what to do. Yeah, gay and sapphic cozies are everywhere. Yeah. And the only one surviving the cozy sales slump, which is kind of funny because so many of the gay and lesbian targeting is basically gone. Like, I don't think you can target RuPaul's drag show anymore. I think Sense8 is gone. Obviously, gay and lesbian's gone. Most of the spicy authors that you can target are gone. So somehow gay and lesbian cozies are just making it on vibes, I guess. No pun intended. I'm guessing part of it has to do with which is probably because I think one of the best things that they have going for them is if you make your ad copy good for sapphic and gay romance, it's super obvious what it is. You get two dudes kissing, right? Like, and your ad copy is gay baseball romance or whatever it might be, right? Like, you're just coming out and saying what it is, and that's something I've been pushing for some time. With more fringe stuff, is just come out and say what it is. Don't try to hedge around it or anything like that. And I feel like the people that are doing that are doing well because the AI can pick up on it. And also people who don't want to read gay stuff can very quickly tell it's gay and they don't engage. And maybe even they report it. And then Facebook's like, cool, I'm not going to show it to people like that anymore because they don't like it. And it will then find the people who do like it will really like it. And it sort of like has this snowball effect. So I think that's a good lesson for everything that we're doing across the board is be very transparent what your story is about. The cool hook that you have, the cool twist that you have, tell people what it is. Don't hold your cards too close to the chest. Share what the book's about. Be really forthright with that. Don't try to hint and suggest and like say like something terrible befell them. Say what the terrible thing is that befell them so that the AI can see it, and then the AI will find the right people to show it to. All right. Yasmin says, so I have a 99-cent book bub on August 31st. I've been looking for places beside bargain books to stack ads since it isn't the free category. They offered me a 99 1-cent one I went for free. Oh, I see. Man, that's a rough weekend to be running a book bub. I hate to say it because it's the day before Labor Day. And Labor Day weekend is traditionally a slump in sales. for most people. Doesn't mean it always is, and the book bump could be the one place where it could be the thing to make it so you don't have a slump at the end of August, beginning of September. Can you remind me what genre that would be, Yasmin? I mean, there's lots of other places like Bargain Booksy that you can do, depending on the genre. But I would consider running an awareness ad and maybe a traffic ad to it as well during that period, and do video ads so you can get really low cost per click. So you're not spending a lot of money on clicks, and you can just get like maximal eyeballs on it. And then see if you can just stack up a bunch of swaps of other authors, like 20 swaps or something like that. You can go that high. Paranormal women's fiction, mostly spooky stuff. Yeah, so you could try something like Reign of Reeds or Book Barbarian. They're more sci-fi fantasy, but a lot of women are on those lists, and there's a lot of more romantic books on those lists these days. You could kind of you could sign up for their newsletters and see what kind of things they're sending out as well. I don't know if I'm currently subscribed to either of those ones, or if they've just been lost in the spam archives of my inbox because I haven't opened them forever. There's Authors XP. I don't know how good they are anymore. I personally would lean more into author newsletter swaps than I would too many more paid sites, especially with that. And then awareness ads, video awareness ads would definitely be a thing to do. And then also, you could run some awareness ads to your existing engaged audience as well by building an audience of people who engage with your ads or anything like that over the last year, and just hit them up as well on the cheap. And even your own newsletter, because I'm guessing if it's been out for a while, you can even say like, hey, read this on KU, here's your chance to own it for 99 cents or something like that. Yeah, Reign of Reeds is it's actually relatively new, maybe only about 5 or 6 years old, but it's a lot like Book Barbarian. I've actually had better luck with them than with Book Barbarian in recent years. Carmen says, a lesbian couple in my new series, but it's just 2 characters who happen to be happily married and nobody complained. That's awesome, Carmen. I love to hear that. That's super cool. But good luck, Yasmin, and good luck, Kate. Kate was the one that had to release today. What happened? Kate, congrats on your release, because birthing a book baby is always something to congratulate someone over. So yay, you got it out. I hope it does amazing. And like I said, no matter what, it's an asset that you now have that you can market forever at this point. I have lots of books that, maybe released with sort of a drip rather than a splash kind of thing, but over time definitely have done well for me. So, it's out there. It can always be re-released. It can always be put in a collection or an omnibus or who knows what. So, you've got your book has its whole life ahead of it. So much opportunity for it. But I am going to jet so I can get ready for writing sprints, because I have all my edits to go through. I tell you, a 152,000 word book has a lot of edits in it from your editor. And it's my first time working with an editor, so I kind of got to go over things with more of a fine-tooth comb to make sure that our styles match. So it'll be good. Oh, 5th in series. Okay, yes, that's gonna be pretty good then, Kate. You're not, the readers who want it are gonna want it. So you're gonna be in good stead that way. You're not gonna have to convince them that they want the book. They're gonna be there for it. But I will see you lovely folks next week. I will be back in whatever color I'm in. Today I'm in metallic pewter. And I will not be doing Lunch with Mal on the 28th of August. But otherwise, Lunch with Mal shall continue unabated until we move. So I will see you guys then. Have yourselves a fabulous day, and may the writing gods smile upon you. And the advertising gods, them too. They're pretty important. Yeah, thank you for coming, Pranambria. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.